Hello, good morning, viewer. Welcome back to my channel, Hocantalk. Thank you very much for coming back to my video again. Today's video, I promise to be shorter. Not because it's less complicated or less technical, it's just because I think this one, some of you might heard about this, the name of the topic today. But still, a lot of people ask me recently because this special organization has been used to punish Iran and Russia. So they don't really understand the structure behind this organization. How come this organization is willing to obey instructions from elsewhere to remove certain country away from using this system? Now, so again, today today's topic is called SWIFT. SWIFT. Again, you will be presented in both languages, English and Chinese. Likewise, you'll be marker and paper so that I can concentrate on teaching you the essential information. Also, likewise, please subscribe and circulate my video so that I can get more subscription. If not, it's very difficult to continue to produce quality video. So let's zoom in on today's slide. Today's slide is SWIFT. SWIFT stands for Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunications. In Chinese, it's called 环球银行金融电信协会. So a lot of people know SWIFT. I'm quite sure you see on the newspaper. If you work in the financial industry, you know what is SWIFT, which is a kind of payment messaging system. So before a bank A can send money to bank B, they actually first send a message system over first to inform bank B about the actual detail of the moving of the money. So SWIFT is a system to facilitate a standard protocol whereby banks and other financial institutions can talk to each other. Standardized one. So that's SWIFT. But a lot of people know SWIFT, but maybe the reason why I do this video is because a lot of them keep asking me something that I think is not correct about SWIFT, and also they are not too familiar with the background of SWIFT. So maybe this short video will help to bridge the gap. Now, what is SWIFT? Let's look at the historical background. As a banker, ex-banker myself, when I was young, I've just graduated from university. We were being rotated to the settlement department or the corresponding department of a bank to actually do on-the-job learning. So there's always a telex machine there. So it's a machine, there's a telex machine. And then on and off, there'll be some messages being sent over. And then we got to look at the messages and then follow the instruction and verify internally all the code, make sure it's correct. And then we effect the remittance or the transaction. So likewise, historically, before 1973, all the banks actually use telexes, meaning a machine linked to a phone line whereby they can send messages to each other, and then they have to verify whether the messages is authenticated or not, is correct or is real, and then they will effect the payment. So bank first rely on a messaging system to inform the other party, say, hey, I'm going to send this money to you, or I want you to send this money to somewhere. So this is called the messaging system. So, but before SWIFT was being founded, before 1973, everybody used their own standard. So it's very messy. Now, a lot of banks think that this is not going to be the way. So in the year 1973, May, 239 banks from 15 countries, actually they has an idea, why don't we form a company, and this company will standardize all the messages that banks talk to each other or financial institutions talk to each other. So in May 1973, SWIFT was formed. SWIFT was being set up. Set up in where? Later on I'll tell you. And in the year 1977, after 4 years of preparation, SWIFT went into operation, and the first message is actually sent by the Belgian prince. Prince, I think, is Albert. Now, why Belgium? The next slide I will explain to you. Okay, now before I go to that, now you should know why set up SWIFT. SWIFT is to standardize all the financial messages between banks. So they come up with a standard called the ISO 9362 standard. This standard, you heard about ISO 9000, so all these standards are set by International Organization of Standard, and then they unify, they standardize all the things so that everybody globally can use the same format and to ensure there's no error, no misunderstanding. But I want to ensure one thing, emphasize one. Swift only do messaging. It's just like a post office. It doesn't move any money. So Swift never manage any money. All the movement of money is done by correspondent banking. Okay, so that in a bank, in a commercial bank, there is this department called the corresponding banking department. They handle all this inflow and outflow of monetary flow within the bank. Okay, now let's come back to just now. I promised to tell you why Belgium Prince become the first person to send out the first Swift message. Okay, now at that time in 1973, because the world is in a difficult situation, the gold standard has just been removed. There's an oil crisis and all these things. So at that time, the whole world is divided very much because of Cold War and all this. So anything in between, like for example in Europe and in a small country like Belgium, it offer neutrality, meaning that they are more or less being viewed like very neutral, or they are right in the middle of a few global powers. So I think putting something in the middle is the best. So at that time when SWIFT was formed, all the few hundred banks meet up in Belgium, and then they decided to incorporate this company SWIFT in Belgium. And the name of this company is called Swift SC. SC stands for Société Coopérative, meaning the structure of this Swift is actually a cooperative. It's not a private limited, it's not a listed company, it's not a public company, it's a cooperative. Cooperative means many people who use the service actually own this organization. Now, the business-wise of Swift is messaging, to standardize all the messaging, to also ensure that messages are authenticated, to avoid money laundering, to make sure that there's no error. But anyway, they are non-profit. They don't make any profit at all. Okay. Now the taxation, the Belgium, they have to pay Belgium corporate tax, but because they are a cooperative, they actually pay less tax. Okay, not the full corporate tax. Now, how about the shareholding and the management of SWIFT? The shareholding of management of SWIFT is all the banks who actually use this messaging system will become the shareholders. Now, how about the percentage of shareholders? Who own more, who own less? Then within SWIFT, they have this thing called the allocation of share. Every 3 years, they look at who uses the most messages, and then they will give that bank will become the major shareholders if that bank is the biggest usage of SWIFT, the number of messengers. Now, one day I think SWIFT handle 45 billion messages a day. 45 billion. So it's a lot. And every message they charge a few cents as a fee. So they have a revenue. Okay. Now, for the year 2025, despite the fact that SWIFT is not a public company, they do disclose a little bit of financial on their website. So they make an revenue of about 1 billion euro. 1 billion euro. So from all this messaging fee, they actually charge a fee per message, which is very low, from a few cents, from 0 point something cent to a few cents, depending on the pricing system that a member bank willing to engage with. Before I go on, let me talk about how SWIFT make money. So number one, SWIFT make money from all these message fee. So every message a bank send, they gotta pay some fee, from 0.00 something cent to maybe 0.2 cent, depend on the volume. But the bank can also subscribe to a lump sum. Just like when you want to watch a video, you go to Netflix, you go to Disney movie, so you pay a lump sum per month. So bank can also do that. They pay a lump sum, then unlimited. That means as far as they send below certain threshold of the messages, you'll be still the same amount of money. And also to be a member of SWIFT, all the bank need to pay a yearly fee. So all these fees add up together. They make about 1 billion euro. Why euro? Because Belgium use euro. So they make about 1 billion euro in revenue, not profit, revenue. But because they are cooperative, they don't distribute this money to all the shareholding banks. They actually reinvest this money back into the system of SWIFT to make sure that all the computer system, everything are foolproof. No hacker can go in. Actually, there was some incident before in 2016, but again, I don't want to talk about that one. That will be a little bit off track from this video. But as a cooperative, they are non-profit, so all the money that they make after minusing all the expenses, they actually put back into their business to enhance the computer system. Because after SWIFT is being set up, they no longer use telex anymore. They set up their own private network, and then all the bank need to pay a fee to be a member of this network, so that they go through their own computer system and send the messages, which is highly encrypted, so the hacker cannot go in and do something. Now, let's come back to the management of SWIFT. The board of the SWIFT, there are 25 directors, and who choose these directors is based on who are the major shareholders, who are the bank, and then the bank will nominate someone to be the director of SWIFT. So there are altogether 25 of them. Okay. Now, if you're the top 6 country that uses SWIFT the most, then each country will be given 2 director seat. Okay, but again, that one is too nitty gritty. If I tell you today, maybe 1 week later you'll forget. So you just remember the board of SWIFT, 25 people, and then these are people nominated by all the banks who use SWIFT. Now, the corporate governance, because SWIFT is so important in delivering the messages, so the G10, the top 10 industrial country, the central bank, form a corporate governance committee and overlook the operation of SWIFT. Okay, and also in this case, even though Belgium is not the top 10, but because the SWIFT is incorporated in Belgium, so National Bank of Belgium acting as an overall someone who oversees the whole operation. Okay, let's move on to the next slide, because I promised today will be a shorter video. If not, all of you will fall asleep. Now, okay, recently the most important thing that everybody is willing to know is SWIFT has become a weapon. SWIFT has become a weapon. So a lot of people ask me, why SWIFT become a weapon, and why SWIFT is willing to become a weapon. Now, if you look at the history from 2012 until now, okay, SWIFT actually has de-SWIFT 2 countries out from the system. Number 1 is 2012, Iran. Iran was being kicked out. They are not allowed to use SWIFT anymore. So all the banks in Iran cannot use SWIFT. So how do they send money? Of course, they will have to come out their own method, but it will create a lot of delay and inconvenience. So it doesn't mean that they stop business totally, but they cannot go through SWIFT to send messages to other banks to ask them to effect certain payment. So it slows down the whole process. It creates a lot of inconvenience. And at that time, USA also sanctioned Iran. So Iran cannot do business with any US person, including US bank, US corporate. So basically, these create a lot of difficulty in economics planning and activities. Then in the year 2022, Russia experienced the same kind of treatment. Under the pressure of USA, SWIFT also kicked Russia out from the system. They cannot use SWIFT anymore. So Russia basically cannot depend on SWIFT to send messages to other banks to either remit their money back or remit their money to somewhere. Now, despite the fact that this video is talking about SWIFT, but I think a lot of viewers want me to talk about why SWIFT need to obey, or why SWIFT obeys USA. Because when USA says something, why SWIFT is being a Belgian company, they have to listen. Now, there are a few factors behind. Of course, let's talk about law. Legally, because it's a Belgian company, so it got to listen to EU law. So USA always had to pressure EU, European Union, and then EU will pass a resolution, and because the resolution is being passed, SWIFT being a EU-based corporation or organization, they have no choice but to follow. That's number 1 reason. Number 2, the dollar weaponization, because right now dollar is the main currency. So and I make a video on dollar weaponization, which will be putting up on YouTube soon, so you can watch out for that. I won't go into deeper. So like you can see, USA have been using sanctions, secondary sanction, primary sanction, tariff. So against US dollar has become a weapon. So in this case, since SWIFT is a messaging system to coordinate payment instruction between banks, so SWIFT know that if they don't listen, then USA can sanction SWIFT, meaning that SWIFT are not allowed to do business with any US bank. And because US dollar is the dominating trading currency in the world, 60 to 80%, if SWIFT cannot send messages to all the US bank, then the whole SWIFT system will collapse. They cannot do business anymore. And because if they cannot send messages, then other non-US bank will not use SWIFT because it doesn't serve any purpose. So because of this kind of pressure, because dollar has become a weapon, no choice, SWIFT got to take instruction, not rather than take instruction, got to follow the trend. And also the third factor is infrastructure constraint. Now, SWIFT actually have three main data centers. You know, if you maintain your own computer network for communication, you have to build a lot of data centers. You have to build internet communication line, which is encrypted, which is separate from the normal telecom network. So to build all this infrastructure, SWIFT need to put in a lot of money to build their own data center. So they have three major data center. One is in Belgium, one is in Netherlands, and unfortunately one is in USA. So if they do not follow or obey, then the US can always sanction the one in USA and stop the data center in USA to serve SWIFT, and that will create a huge problem. Okay, so now I've explained why SWIFT need to obey USA. So it's not a direct legal instruction. It's not a military confrontation that someone point a gun to your head. It's because of economics, gravity, and it's also because of the situational issue. But again, with all this bullying, with all these tactics to kick people out, to punish other country when you don't follow their ideology or when you are different in thinking. Again, my video, I don't want to talk about politics. I only focus on business and finance. I only talk about something factual because this happened. That's why I talk about it. It's not because I predicted it will happen. It already happened. They kicked Iran out. They kicked Russia out. Whether they have done the right thing or the wrong thing, again, is not the focus of my video. My video will be just telling you factual issue so that when you make your financial decision or business decision, you can be more well informed and also for your personal knowledge. So are the whole world sitting dark now? Are the whole world just doing nothing? The answer is no. In Chinese, there's this phrase called 物极必反. When you suppress something too much, it will rebound. So the whole world is acting together to come up with system as an alternative to SWIFT. So like China, this one I won't go into deeper because it's quite technical. So China come up with their own system to rival SWIFT. In 2015, they come up with something called the cross-border interbank payment system. That's why they can use renminbi to do the payment. So there are right now 1,500 financial institutions in the world has already become members that cover more than 110 countries. So it's gaining a lot of traction. This is from China. Now other country, Russia also come up with their system called the System for Transfer of Financial Messages. Now this one is very much to facilitate their trading between Russia and Iran because both of them have been kicked out of SWIFT. Okay. Now, I want to talk a little bit on the China side. Now, China's system, in addition to be a messaging system, China's system actually can also move money. So China's system is more advanced than SWIFT. SWIFT only doing messaging, and then the movement of money is done through individual bank corresponding banking department. But for the China system, it actually can allow you to transfer money over the system. So they actually incorporate corresponding function inside the messaging system. Okay, so the next slide I've talked about Russia. Now let's talk about a non-sovereign, a non-country setup, which is called BIS, Bank for International Settlement. But despite it's not a country, BIS, Bank for International Settlement, is a central bank for all the central bank in the world. And BIS is given certain sovereignty right, meaning that no country can touch BIS because they have given BIS certain sovereignty right. So BIS, since they are serving the whole world, they also come up with a new system called the mBridge project. mBridge project, okay? And this one involves digital currency payment between central bank. So this one totally bypass SWIFT also. How about other countries like Brazil, Russia? Okay, there's a group of countries called Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, and UAE. They actually form and built something called the BRICS Pay. It's something like the Ali Pay or the WeChat Pay, whereby you scan a QR code, you download the system, you become a member, and then you download the QR code. When you go to any of these countries that I mentioned just now, to do payment, you just scan the QR code. It's something like Singapore, the U-Trip kind of payment arrangement. So it's a subset payment arrangement that facilitate all these countries that I mentioned just now. Now, how about Europe? Does Europe come out with something to bypass SWIFT? The answer is yes. They come out with something called the Instack. But unfortunately, because of the worry about the confrontation with USA and all these things, actually this alternative messaging system failed. And in the year 2023, it has been closed down. So again, I want to finish my video today so that at least after my video, you have a complete understanding about SWIFT, why they are being set up, where they are being set up, how they are being managed, are they profit or non-profit. They make about 1 billion revenue euro per year, but they actually plow back all the money into improving their infrastructure, and they do charge fee per message, and also they charge membership fees. That's where they get the 1 billion euro revenue. So I hope today's video you also know that with this background information, you know why SWIFT got no choice but to obey instruction from EU and USA. But again, the world is not sitting here to do nothing. The world has come up with a lot of alternative. Very sure the usage of SWIFT will go down. SWIFT definitely will go down because a lot of countries set up their own already. So this is a very direct result of dollar weaponization, because if you do this too often, it come up with something called the sanction paradox. Everybody will try to find some way to bypass SWIFT. Okay, thank you very much for watching my video. I hope my video is informative, and please do subscribe, circulate my video to your friends, so at least your friend can also improve their knowledge about SWIFT. At least they understand the full picture behind SWIFT. Okay, thank you very much. See you next video. Bye bye.